She's gone, Steve. So's the money. My brother's voice shook over the phone. I was still groggy from anesthesia, my chest aching from the scalpel. I'm Steve, 38, a small-town electrician. My wife's betrayal hit harder than the surgery. I thought love meant trust. Now I know. Trust is a trap unless you've got a plan. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and regret, the kind that burns your nose and sticks in your throat. I was 38, just out of heart surgery, tubes snaking from my chest, my body weak but my mind foggy with hope. Lila and I had been married 10 years. 10 years of late nights wiring houses, saving for a house, dreaming of kids. Her voice used to steady me, her hand in mine during doctor's visits, promising we'd get through this. You're tough, Steve, she'd say, her smile warm. I believed her. I believed in us. I woke up that morning, groggy, the beep of monitors drilling into my skull. My brother, Mike, was there, his face pale, eyes red. She's gone, Steve, he said, his voice cracking. So's the money. My chest tightened, not from the surgery, but from something sharper. I gripped the hospital sheets, the fabric rough under my fingers, my knuckles whitening. What do you mean, gone? I croaked, my throat raw from the breathing tube. Mike hesitated, then handed me his phone. Our joint account, zeroed out. Savings gone. Even my retirement fund, locked. Lila had changed every password while I was out cold. I stared at the ceiling, the fluorescent lights blurring as my heart monitor spiked. We'd built that account together. Every overtime shift, every skipped vacation, every dollar I earned bending over backwards in attics and crawl spaces. Lila had been my partner, my anchor. I saw her face in my mind, her laugh at our wedding, the way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear. Now, that memory twisted like a wire stripped bare. My hands shook, not from weakness but from rage, a heat spreading through my chest. I wanted to rip the tubes out, find her, demand answers. But my body wouldn't move. Mike sat beside me, his voice low. She left yesterday. Said she needed space. Space. While I was fighting to live. I clenched my jaw, pain shooting through my chest. I thought of her at home, logging into our accounts, her fingers typing new passwords as I lay cut open. The betrayal wasn't just the money. It was the coldness, the timing. I trusted her with everything, and she'd chosen the moment I was weakest to gut me. A nurse came in, checking my chart, but I barely noticed. My mind was racing, replaying every moment with Lila, her late nights working, her excuses about stress. Had it all been a lie? My fingers twitched, itching to do something, anything, to take back control. Mike squeezed my shoulder, his grip steady, but his eyes worried. We'll figure this out, he said. I nodded, but my thoughts were elsewhere. I wasn't just going to figure this out. I was going to make her pay. The hospital discharged me a week later, my chest still sore, stitches pulling with every step. I shuffled into our house, the silence louder than the hum of my work tools. The place felt wrong, empty, like Lila had stripped it of more than just money. I leaned against the kitchen counter, my breath shallow, and saw it. A sticky note on the fridge, her handwriting sharp and careless. Start over, Steve. No apology, no explanation. Just those two words like a slap. My hand trembled as I crumpled the note, my knuckles white, the pain in my chest flaring. Not from the surgery, but from her. I sat at our desk, the one we'd picked out together at a flea market, and opened my laptop. My fingers hesitated over the keys, still weak from the IVs. I tried logging into our bank account, password denied. Savings same. My retirement fund, locked. Every account we'd built over a decade, gone behind a wall of new passwords. My heart pounded, each beat a hammer against my ribs. I'd wired houses through storms, crawled through attics in 90-degree heat, all to save for us. And Lila, she'd taken it all while I was cut open. My jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. I wanted to smash the screen, but I didn't. I couldn't afford a break. I kept clicking, desperate for something, anything. Then I found it. An old browser bookmark, a financial app one hadn't used in years. My hands froze, my breath catching. It was a joint account, one we'd set up early in our marriage for emergencies, forgotten in the chaos of life. I logged in, half expecting another dead end. The screen loaded, $12,000, untouched. My pulse spiked, a rush of relief mixing with rage. Lila didn't know about it. She thought she cleaned me out, but I had a lifeline. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me, my stitches pulling as I exhaled. The house was quiet, but my mind roared. I saw Lila's face, her smile from better days, now twisted into something cold. I thought of the late nights I'd spent working, the vacations we'd skipped, the life we'd planned, all for her to leave me with a note and nothing else. My fingers gripped the desk, the wood cool under my palms. I wasn't just angry, I was humiliated. She thought I'd roll over, start over like she said. But that bookmark, that small forgotten account, was a crack in her plan. I wasn't done yet. I closed the laptop, my hand steadier now, and stared at the crumpled note on the counter. She thought she'd broken me, left me powerless. She didn't know I was already planning to turn her victory to ash. The house felt like a stranger's now, every corner a reminder of Lila's betrayal. I sat at the kitchen table, my stitches itching under the bandage, and thought about the man I used to be. I'd spent years as an electrician, crawling through dusty attics, wiring homes in the dead of summer, all to build a life with her. We planned a house, maybe a kid someday, nights spent laughing over takeout. I'd skip weekends with friends to save, come home with calloused hands and a tired smile, thinking it was enough. Lila's voice would greet me, soft and warm, promising we were in it together. That man trusted her. That man was a fool. I opened my phone, the screen's glow harsh in the dim kitchen. I texted her, keeping it short, "Why, Lila? Can we talk?" My fingers trembled, not from weakness but from the anger coiling in my chest. I wanted her to think I was broken, desperate. She replied within minutes, "It's done, Steve. Move on." Her words were ice, slicing through me. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white, my breath shallow. She thought she'd won, thought I was still the guy who'd take her punches and keep quiet. My jaw clenched, the pain in my chest a dull throb compared to the fire in my gut. That afternoon, I met my buddy Dan at the diner down the street. The place smelled of burnt coffee and grease, the kind of spot where nobody asked questions. Dan leaned across the table, his voice low. "She's in the city, Steve. New apartment, new guy, flashing cash like it's hers." My stomach dropped, my hands curling into fists under the table. Our cash, my sweat, my years, funding her new life. Dan slid me a photo, Lila at a bar, laughing, a shiny watch on her wrist. My watch, one I'd saved for, now glinting on her arm. My heart pounded, each beat a hammer strike. "She's telling people you gave it all to her," Dan said. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Back home, I paced the living room, the floor creaking under my boots. Every memory of Lila, her laugh, her touch, felt like a lie now, a wire crossed in my head. I saw her note again in my mind, start over, and my hands itched to do something, anything. But I wasn't that guy anymore, the one who'd swallow her betrayal. That secret account, the $12,000 she didn't know about, was my edge. I sat at the laptop, my fingers steady now, and started digging deeper, looking for cracks in her plan. I wasn't just going to take my life back. I was going to make sure she felt the weight of what she'd done. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. I sat at the kitchen table, my laptop open, the glow casting shadows on the walls. My stitches ached, a dull reminder of the surgery. But the real pain was Lila's betrayal, sharp and raw. I've been digging through our old financial app, the one with the $12,000 she didn't know about. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, my breath shallow. I logged in again, just to be sure. The balance stared back, $12,347.62. Untouched. A secret account I'd set up years ago for a rainy day, forgotten until now. My heart raced, a mix of relief and rage. She thought she'd strip me bare, but I had this. I transferred the funds to a new account, one Lila couldn't touch. Each click felt like a small victory, but my hands were clammy, sweat beading on my forehead. The screen confirmed the transfer, and I leaned back, my chest tight. Not from the surgery, but from the weight of what I was doing. This wasn't just about money. It was about taking back control. I saw her note in my mind, start over, and my jaw clenched. She'd counted on me being weak, too broken to fight. My fingers gripped the table, the wood cool under my palms, grounding me. Then my phone buzzed. Lila, you're pathetic, Steve, her text read. Begging won't change anything. My blood boiled, my pulse hammering in my ears. She called earlier, her voice dripping with mockery, telling me to move on, while she spent our savings. I wanted to scream, to tell her I wasn't begging, but I didn't. I texted back, just want to talk. My hand shook as I typed, not from fear, but from the effort to stay calm. She thought I was crumbling, and I let her. Every taunt, every smug word was fuel. I wasn't just saving money. I was building a plan to burn her world down. I called my buddy Dan, the one who tipped me off about Lila's new life. Know any lawyers? I asked, my voice low, steady. He gave me a name, Rachel, a shark who owed him a favor. I met her at a coffee shop, the air thick with espresso and tension. Rachel's eyes were sharp, her notepad already out. Lila's reckless, she said, scanning my screenshots of the account changes. This is fraud, but we need more. My stomach twisted, but I nodded, my hand steady on the table. Lila's connections in the city, her new guy, they made her bold, untouchable. Or so she thought. Back home, I stared at the laptop, the secret account's balance now safe. My chest ached, but my mind was clear. Lila thought she'd won, thought I was still the guy who'd take her lies and smile. But I was done being that man. I had my edge now, and I was sharpening it. What she didn't know was how close I was to turning her victory into a trap. The kitchen was dark except for the laptop's glow, my stitches itching as I hunched over the screen. I'd secured the $12,000, but it wasn't enough to just protect what was mine. Lila needed to feel the weight of her betrayal. I knew her. Greed was her weakness, always had been. So I crafted a lie, one she couldn't resist. I texted Dan, loud enough for our neighbor, Mrs. Carter, to overhear through the open window. Got a call from a lawyer. Some uncle I never met left me an inheritance. Big money. Mrs. Carter was a gossip, and I knew she'd run straight to Lila's cousin, who'd run to her. My hands were steady as I typed, but my heart thumped, a mix of nerves and resolve. Lila took the bait faster than I expected. My phone buzzed the next morning, her name on the screen like a jolt to my chest. We need to talk about your inheritance, her text read, the quotes dripping with sarcasm. I stared at it, my jaw tight, my fingers hovering over the keys. Sure, I replied. Name a time. My voice might have been calm in those words, but inside, I was a live wire, sparking with anger. She thought she could squeeze more out of me, even after taking everything. I let her think I was desperate, weak, the same Steve who'd trusted her blindly. We agreed to meet at a cafe in town, a public spot where she couldn't twist the narrative. I prepared carefully, slipping a small recorder in my pocket, testing it twice to be sure. My hands shook as I pressed the button, the stitches in my chest pulling with every deep breath. I met Rachel, my lawyer, beforehand, her sharp eyes scanning my evidence. Get her to admit intent, she said, her voice low. That's your knockout punch. I nodded, sweat beading on my neck despite the cool air. The cafe was busy, the clink of cups and hum of voices a perfect cover. Lila walked in, her new watch, my watch, glinting on her wrist, her smile smug. My stomach churned, but I kept my face blank. Steve, she said, sitting down, her tone syrupy. This inheritance. How much are we talking? My heart pounded, but I leaned back, casual like I was still the fool she knew. Enough to change things, I said, vague, watching her eyes light up. She leaned in, her words sharp. You owe me, after everything. I nodded, my voice steady, the recorder catching every syllable. Everything. I echoed, letting her think I was crumbling. My chest was tight, not from the surgery, but from the thrill of her walking into my trap. She kept talking, admitting she'd changed the passwords to protect herself, her voice smug, oblivious to the recorder. Each word was a brick in a case I was building. But as she spoke, her eyes cold, I felt the risk. If she suspected anything, she could turn this around. One slip, and I'd be the one left with nothing. The cafe smelled of burnt espresso and tension, the hum of voices masking the storm in my chest. I sat across from Lila, her new watch, my watch, glinting under the lights, her smile sharp enough to cut. My stitches ached, but I kept my posture loose, the recorder in my pocket running silently. Rachel, my lawyer, sat at a nearby table, Her eyes locked on us, a notepad discreetly in hand. Lila leaned forward, her voice low, taunting. "So this inheritance, Steve, how much is it?" My heart pounded, but I kept my face blank, my hand steady on the table. "Enough," I said, vague, letting her greed pull her deeper. I leaned back, my voice calm but deliberate. "Why'd you change the passwords, Lila?" Her smile faltered, just for a second, and I saw it, uncertainty. "To protect myself," she said, her tone defensive, her eyes darting. "You were out of it, Steve. Someone had to take charge." My jaw tightened, the lie hitting like a spark on dry wire. I slid my phone across the table, the screen dark but ready. "Protect yourself," I said, my voice low, steady. "Or steal what we built." Her lips parted, but no words came. I pressed play, and her voice filled the air. Her cafe confession, admitting she'd locked me out for her future. Lila's face went pale, her hands gripping the table, her nails digging into the wood. The cafe's noise faded, the world narrowing to her shallow breaths and wide eyes. "You recorded me," she hissed, her voice shaking. I nodded, my chest tight, but my gaze unwavering. Rachel stood, joining us, her presence like a blade. "That's fraud, Lila," she said, her tone cold. "And we have it on tape." Lila's eyes darted between us, her smugness gone, replaced by panic. The other patrons didn't notice, but to me, the room felt electric, like a circuit finally live. "You can't do this," Lila stammered, her voice rising, cracking. "I'll fight it, Steve. I know people." My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. "Go ahead," I said, my voice low, almost a growl. "Try." Rachel slid a folder across the table. Copies of the account changes, timestamps, my evidence. Lila's hand shook as she opened it, her breath hitching. I watched her world crumble, my heart pounding, not with fear, but with something fiercer, justice. For every late night I'd worked, every dollar she'd stolen, every lie she'd told. She stood, her chair scraping, her face a mix of rage and fear. "This isn't over," she spat, her voice low, venomous. "You'll regret this." My pulse spiked, but I held her gaze, my hand steady now. She stormed out, the door slamming, leaving her perfume and her threat lingering. Rachel nodded at me, her eyes sharp. "We've got her," she said. But as I sat there, the cafe's hum returning, a cold dread settled in my gut. Lila's words weren't empty. She'd fight back, and I wasn't sure how dirty she'd play. The cafe confrontation lit a fuse in our small town. Word spread fast. Lila's fraud, her betrayal, my recordings. By the next morning, Mrs. Carter, the neighbor who'd tipped Lila's cousin, was whispering to everyone at the diner. "She stole from him while he was in surgery," she said, her voice carrying over coffee cups. I didn't need to push the story. The town did it for me. Lila's new life in the city, her fancy apartment, her new guy, started to crumble. Friends she bragged to stop calling. Her social media, once full of glitzy posts, went silent. My watch, the one she'd flaunted, was pawned, Dan told me, his voice low over a beer. My chest ached, not from stitches but from a strange mix of satisfaction and guilt. Rachel, my lawyer, moved fast. She filed fraud charges, using my recordings and account logs. Lila's bank accounts were frozen, her new guy nowhere to be seen. I sat in her office, the air thick with paper and ink, as she laid out the case. "She's done, Steve," Rachel said, her eyes sharp. "No one's touching her now." I nodded, my hand steady on the chair, but my stomach twisted. I'd wanted justice, but watching Lila's world implode felt heavier than I'd expected. Every late shift I'd worked, every dollar she'd stolen, it was all coming back to her, but my victory tasted bitter like burnt coffee. Back at work, I threw myself into jobs, wiring a new house, fixing a shop's faulty panel. The hum of my tools grounded me, the smell of solder a reminder of who I was. My crew noticed the change. They didn't ask about Lila, but their nods were enough. I was rebuilding, not just my finances, but my name. The $12,000 from the secret account was safe, growing in a new fund. I'd even started sketching plans for a small cabin, something to call mine. But at night, alone in our old house, Lila's note, "Start over, still haunted me. My hands didn't shake anymore, but my dreams did, her voice whispering threats. I ran into Mrs. Carter at the grocery store, her eyes wide with gossip. "Lila's back in town," she said, clutching her cart. "Renting a room. No money left." My pulse spiked, my fingers tightening on my keys. I nodded, keeping my face blank, but my mind raced. Lila's fall was complete, socially, financially, emotionally. I'd done that. But as I loaded groceries into my truck, a flicker of guilt hit me. Had I pushed too hard? Was this justice or vengeance? I drove home, the road dark, Lila's last words in the cafe ringing. "You'll regret this." My hands gripped the wheel, steady but tense. The town had turned on her, but she wasn't the type to stay down. I'd won, taken back my life, but her threat hung like a loose wire, ready to spark. What was she planning, and was I ready for it? The town had buried Lila's reputation by the time I walked into my house that night, the air heavy with the silence of her absence. My stitches were gone, but the scar on my chest itched, a reminder of the surgery and her betrayal. Mrs. Carter's gossip had spread like wildfire. Lila was back, holed up in a cheap rental, her city dreams shattered. Her last desperate move came a week ago, a post online, calling me a liar, claiming I'd driven her out. It backfired. Dan showed me the replies, neighbors, clients, even her old friends tearing into her. Thief, they called her. My phone buzzed with support, but I didn't smile. My hand stayed steady, but my chest felt hollow. I'd rebuilt my life. The $12,000 was safe, growing in a new account. Work was steady, new contracts, a crew that respected me. I'd wired a whole strip mall last week, the hum of my tools drowning out the noise in my head. Rachel called to confirm the fraud case was moving forward. Lila faced fines, maybe jail. Her new guy was long gone, her watch pawned, her social standing ash. I'd done that, turned her victory into ruin. But as I sat at the kitchen table, the crumpled, starred over note still in a drawer, I felt no joy. Justice was cold, like the solder I used on a bad circuit. The house was mine now, paid off with a secret count. I started sketching that cabin again, something small, just for me. I'd work late, the smell of sawdust and wire insulation grounding me, but nights were hard. I'd lie in our old bed, the emptiness louder than any storm I'd worked through. Lila's betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about trust, the kind I'd given freely, the kind she'd shattered. My hands didn't shake anymore, but my heart did, wondering if I'd ever let anyone close again. One evening, I found an old photo in a drawer, me and Lila, smiling, years back. My throat tightened, my fingers tracing the faded edges. I didn't miss her, not really, but I missed who I'd been, the guy who believed in forever. I tossed the photo, the sound of it hitting the trash a small, final cut. I was free, financially, emotionally, but freedom felt heavy. The town saw me as the guy who'd won, who'd outsmarted her. But alone in the quiet, I saw the truth. I'd survived, but I'd changed. I locked the house, the night air cool against my skin. My truck's engine rumbled as I drove past the diner, the lights dim. Lila was out there, broken, but her threat, "You'll regret this," still echoed. It didn't scare me anymore. I'd built a new life, stronger, guarded. But as the road stretched dark ahead, a question gnawed at me, sharper than any blade. Could I ever trust enough to love again? Or had Lila taken that too?